Hi, this is Kai, and today I'm going to be looking at Legacy. Hi, this is Kai, and today I'm going to be looking at Transformers Legacy Blurr. Now, I am very excited for this figure, and if you guys did not see my unboxing video where I unboxed not only Blurr but Burnout and Road Rocket, you know why I'm super excited for this figure, which I'll get more into this into this video anyway. But yeah, before anything else, let's go over his accessories really quick. So he does come with pretty standard accessories, basically the same accessories he's come with in the Studio Series, of course. Which, because basically this is a retool of it. It's not a recolor or anything. It's a retool. Because they, of course, added different stuff to make it look different. But he has the same exact transformation as all the other Blurs they've had before. So Shattered Glass Blurr and Studio Series Blurr as well. So they gave him the same, like, weird welder hand thing. And, of course, this gun. Which matches him perfectly. So, yeah. Let's move on to why I am so excited about this figure. Now, the reason why I'm so excited, because at first I thought they were doing a little bit of a Cyberverse thing, and I think it's mainly because of the art that they were doing on the box. It looked very Cyberverse in a way, like kind of a mixture of Cyberverse and G1. And then all of a sudden, when I got a good look of his face and seeing how he's kind of doing like this sort of like goofy, I'm better than you smirk, it clicked together in my head that this is not Cyberverse Blurr, this is IDW Blurr. Specifically, the Blurr from his Spotlight comic. Because he looks exactly like that Blurr from the Spotlight comic. And I'm pretty sure that from one of his covers, this is based on this model, at least from the waist up, is based on that exact Blurr. Because from the waist up, that's IDW Blurr, but from the waist down, even though they do match the colors with IDW Blurr, it's basically Studio Series Blurr from there. Because the legs are the exact same, because if they tried to do the legs in from IDW, they would have to basically create a whole new figure, at least for the legs wise, because they're so drastically different. Because, yeah, they're so different. But anyways, yeah, this figure is really nice. He is really nice to hold. And they did fix a few issues that were with the original Studio Series Blurr and Shattered Glass Blurr. And it mainly has to do with this part right here. Now, this part is the side parts of his car, right here, his car mode. And at least on the Shattered Glass Blurr, I know for sure I made a video on the Shattered Glass Blurr, that this part right here, this little clip that's right here, was on the front instead of the back. So this part could not clip in and it would kind of just hang there. Well, they fixed that now, and obviously, you know, it clips in now and it doesn't move. But yeah, they fixed that, and also, course, they redid a bunch of other stuff to make it more like IDW Blurr, which is amazing. I love what they did. The colors match almost perfectly. Everything else matches almost perfectly. But of course, there's a few differences because IDW Blurr was a bit more, no, he wasn't bulkier than this guy. But he was a bit more angular. Like, he had a bit more, he's a bit more sharp. He wasn't as round as this guy's look, if that makes sense. Because, I mean, mainly in the chest. The chest was really different. But, basically, from the waist up, it is IDW Blurr. But then from the waist down, it's Studio Series Blurr. Which I wish they kind of went full out and did IDW Blurr. Because, right now, it's kind of just like a standard Blurr. Like if you were to take the average of IDW and G1 Blurr, this would be it. So they can't really call it IDW because it's not full IDW, but they also can't call it a G1 Blurr because it doesn't look fully like G1 as well. So yeah, I find this so cool, and it makes me so excited for this series, for this whole Legacy series. I've been excited for this whole Legacy series because we've been getting new stuff, but it's also I haven't been blown away yet, and this is kind of like the first start of where I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. If they keep on this track, this series is gonna be amazing. So yeah, I am very excited, and I'm very happy about this figure, and kind of showing how even though like the looks look really cool, other than that he's pretty average, because like basically 90-degree arm bend, and he goes all the way around, which by the way, he does have ratchet joints in his shoulders and everything. So he has ratchet joints in his shoulders and stuff like that. So like here, ratchet joint, and that's friction. And then yeah, the only ratchet joint is in his shoulders, but which is pretty good because usually we don't get any ratchet joints, but this guy does have ratchet joints, which is pretty good. And this guy is very posable. He can even do the whole, let's see if I can do it really quick. Nah, I'm not gonna be able to do it. But the whole like kind of like speed stop because of his ankle pivots as well. So yeah, from aesthetics wise, this guy is above average. But movement-wise, he's pretty average, but let's transform him because that's where kind of the problems start to not build, but there is a major problem that I see in this figure. So let's transform him really quick. So here we got Blurr all transformed, and I do gotta say, I really like his transformation from just looking at it, because his transformation is, other than the legs, other than the legs, it's a pretty fun transformation, but just looking at his alt mode, I really like it. I do. There's a lot, again, it looks like IDW Blurr. It looks like, well, I guess this one specifically looks more like G1 Blurr, but again, there's enough IDW in there where I can really appreciate it. And one thing that I do find very interesting is that his feet right here are obviously, as you can see it, are the lowest point here. And he does just sit on his feet when he's transformed, which I don't know. I kind of like it because then all the scuffs and stuff that you would have if you were to play with this toy would be still on the feet. So I think that's a pretty smart idea. And also, he does have a little bit of weapon storage, kind of. Not really. It's more of it's like let's put a gun on the tip of that car there. And I've been seeing that a lot with most car modes, that they're just like, let's just put a gun on the tip of that car. Let's just put a gun on top of that car. Let's just put a gun on the back end of that car. Because that's really all you can do. Like, it's not actual weapon storage, but it is part of it. So, I would choose to keep the weapons off just because of personal reference. But the thing that I do have a problem with are these wheels right here. Can you even call those wheels? You see how that arm keeps moving? Because they're not actual wheels. They're just a piece of plastic that look like wheels. It's disappointing. I know why they did it, because it'd be easier just to put a piece of plastic there than putting actual moving wheels, and it's not like they touch the ground anyway, because he's supposed to look like he's hovering, which, fine, I can accept it, but still makes me upset. I can accept it though. I'm at peace with it now. But yeah, other than that, if we look around the rest of it, he is pretty compact. Like, this thing is not going to wiggle out of transformation at all, because there's a lot of tabs. They fixed so much from the original, from the Studio Series Blurr and the Shattered Glass Blurr, even though technically they're the redecos of each other. But anyway, they changed a lot and they fixed a lot, which they fixed a lot of those little, like, what would you call them? Those little errors that they had in the figure that got into the final project somehow. But they fixed it with this one, and I would say this is probably the best Blurr that we've had. This is probably the best Blurr that we've had since, I don't know when, I don't remember, because, shoot, he had the G1 one from the movie. Yeah, this is probably the best Blurr that we've had for a long time, for like a really long time. So I do gotta say that, and the fact that the best Blurr is based off IDW Blurr, specifically the Spotlight comic, which was amazing, by the way. I'd say if you guys want to read, if you guys have like a few minutes out of your day and you want to read a good comic, IDW Spotlight Blurr, pretty good comic. Mainly because they used a lot of parallelism, and with that, they used a lot of visuals as well. And it wasn't just like, saying that, I once was a great racer and now I'm not anymore because of the war. Like, no, they actually really visualized it, and it was really good. But, I actually wrote a whole essay on it when I was doing, for my college class in English. I wrote a whole essay on it because we had to write about a book we read. But anyways, I really do like that comic. But this guy, it's not as good as that comic. He even doesn't look fully like the comic book Blurr. But he's pretty darn close. He's a really good figure. I do gotta say, if you're gonna get any out of the Velocitron collection, Blurr is definitely one that you want to get. And probably Cosmos too, if you can, and you don't find it for like $300 on the aftermarket because people keep getting it before any other actual collector can get it. But anyways, I'm not salty about it at all. But yeah, this guy is a really good figure to get if you like Blurr. If you don't, especially if you like IDW Blurr, this is a good figure to get. It has some issues, but not a lot. The pros very much outweighs the cons. So I highly suggest getting this Blurr here, especially if you like IDW Blurr. So I guess he would get, probably for me, a 9.5 out of 10. Not a 10 out of 10 because he's not perfect, but I can kind of appreciate that. So he gets a 9.5 out of 10 from me, and I guess that's all.